The hum of machinery filled the room, soft, sterile, and endless. Clara Reeve lay back on the reclined table, her hands folded protectively over the small rise of her belly. Dr. Elias Voss adjusted the probe, his gloved fingers trembling just enough for the nurse to notice. The grayscale image flickered across the monitor, rhythmic beeps steady like a heartbeat in prayer. "There," he said quietly. Clara smiled weakly, searching for hope in his face. But his eyes, once clinical, widened with something primal. The room's air thickened, the fluorescent lights dimmed slightly. He leaned closer, lips pale, voice reduced to a shiver of breath. "Don't scream!" The words cracked through the silence like a gunshot. Clara's chest constricted, her pulse thrapped. The image on the screen twisted, a shadow moving against logic. Tiny hands stretching toward the lens, as though the unborn saw her seeing. Dr. Voss stepped back, his composure gone, eyes full of something between awe and terror. The silence that followed was heavier than any sound. Clara tried to laugh, to ask what he meant, but her throat refused. Dr. Voss's hands dropped to his sides. "Latex," he said softly. Too quickly, the nurse's gaze darted between them, unsure if she should call for help. Michael's voice broke the stillness. "What the hell was that?" The doctor didn't answer. He just stepped closer to the screen, lowering his face until his nose nearly touched the glass. The heartbeat thudded again, but slower now, like something pretending to be human. Clara's pulse rose. She reached for Michael's hand, but he didn't move. Frozen by what he saw on the display. The image pulsed once more before turning to static. Dr. Voss whispered something under his breath. A name. Then shut the machine off. Clara dressed in silence, her hands shaking as she fastened the buttons on her coat. Dr. Voss scribbled notes on a clipboard, though his pen left no ink. "Everything appears fine," he said, but his eyes refused to meet hers. "You're healthy. The baby's heart is strong." Michael stepped closer. "Then why did you look like you'd seen a ghost?" The doctor's reply was delayed. His lips formed a faint, humorless smile. "Because sometimes, Mr. Reeve, nature surprises us." He slipped the ultrasound image into an envelope and handed it to Clara without looking. His fingers brushed hers, cold, trembling. "Take care of yourself, and if anything strange happens, call me directly." His tone dropped to a whisper. "Not the hospital. Me." That night, Clara couldn't sleep. The house hummed with the rhythm of rain on glass. Michael lay beside her, restless, pretending not to replay the moment in his mind. The envelope sat on her nightstand like a secret waiting to breathe. She turned toward it, her pulse matching the rain's tempo. The baby inside her shifted gently, a comforting movement she had longed to feel, yet now it unsettled her. She reached for the ultrasound photo, holding it up to the lamplight. For a moment, it looked normal. Then the faintest distortion rippled through the image, like static caught on paper. The face of her unborn child seemed to tilt slightly toward her, just enough to blur the line between light and shadow. Clara's breath hitched just the light. She whispered to no one, but the air around her felt alive, listening. In the hospital's basement, long after midnight, Dr. Voss stood alone before a locked cabinet marked "Archived. Do not open." His hands shook as he entered the code. The metal door creaked open, releasing a smell of disinfectant and dust. Inside, folders stacked in yellowing piles bore a single red stamp. Project E9. He flipped one open. Ultrasound images, identical anomalies, each marked "Subject terminated." His throat tightened. He turned to his old recorder and pressed play. A distorted voice, his own, younger, arrogant, filled the room. Embryonic resilience beyond natural limits achieved. But the consciousness, the awareness, it's learning. The tape crackled, then went silent. He stared into the dark, whispering, "What have I done?" Somewhere above, thunder rolled like a pulse, answering back. Rain hammered the roof like fists. Clara's contractions came fast, too fast. Michael fumbled for his keys as thunder rattled the windows. The power flickered, throwing the living room in pulses of light and dark. "It's early," she gasped, gripping her stomach. "It's time," he answered, fear cracking his voice. They barely saw the road through the downpour, wipers smearing halos of streetlight into streaks. In the passenger seat, Clara whispered to her unborn child, trying to calm the sudden twisting inside her belly that felt less like pain and more like resistance. The radio hissed with static, then went dead. Somewhere behind them, a transformer blew, plunging the neighborhood into black. Only the sound of her breathing remained, ragged, defiant, alive. The hospital's generator hummed as the automatic doors slid open to chaos, nurses shouting over failing lights, stretchers wheeling through shadows. Dr. Voss appeared at the end of the corridor, summoned by instinct rather than duty. "Delivery room 3, a nurse called, and he moved without question. Clara was pale but fierce, every breath a plea and a promise. Michael clung to her hand as alarms flickered red across the monitors. A nurse whispered, "The storm's killing the grid." Dr. Voss met Clara's eyes for the first time since the ultrasound. "You'll be safe," he said, though his tone betrayed doubt. Thunder roared above them as if the sky itself were in labor. The storm outside roared in rhythm with Clara's cries. Machines beeped erratically. The monitors jumped from life to flatline and back again. "One more push," Dr. Voss shouted, though his voice trembled. The power cut, plunging the room into darkness. For a heartbeat, only the sound of rain and Clara's breath remained. Then, a soft glow. Emergency lights spilled from the corner, painting everything in amber. The child slid into Voss's trembling hands, silent, unblinking. No cry, no motion. For a moment, terror swallowed the air. Then the baby's eyes opened, impossibly alert, pupils reflecting the pulse of the monitors restarting on their own. A low hum rose from the machines, syncing perfectly with the rhythm of the newborn's breathing. Minutes stretched into hours. The baby lay swaddled in soft white cloth, still without a sound. Clara watched her daughter with equal parts love and terror. "Why isn't she crying?" she asked. Dr. Voss avoided the question, checking readings that made no sense. No fluctuations, no irregularities, just impossible perfection. "She's stable," he murmured, voice flat. Michael leaned over the cradle, whispering, "Eden?" The name hung in the air like a prayer and a curse. The baby blinked once, slowly, deliberately. The lights above dimmed, then steadied. Outside, the rain ceased as suddenly as it began. Somewhere deep in the hospital, a machine restarted itself with a single mechanical gasp. When dawn fully broke, the hospital corridors gleamed with the sheen of after rain. Clara drifted in and out of sleep while Michael called relatives, his voice hushed with disbelief. Dr. Voss signed discharge forms in silence. Then Nurse Ava entered, pale, trembling. "Doctor, the security feed, your room." It's blank. Voss's heart stuttered. He rushed to the monitor room. Every camera from the delivery wing showed static, except one, a single frame of Clara's room. The cradle empty. The monitor flatlined. He turned, panic slicing through the fog of fatigue. But when he returned, the baby was there again, sleeping peacefully, as if nothing had ever been missing. "You didn't see that," he whispered to Ava, his voice hollow. "You never saw that." The drive home felt slower than the storm itself. Clara stared out the window, half expecting the sky to split again. The baby slept without a sound in the carrier between them. Michael tried to speak. Something about how perfect she looked, but the words died before they reached air. When they stepped inside, the house smelled of rain and metal, a scent that didn't belong. The digital clock blinked 12, 0 over and over, refusing to set. Clara placed the carrier on the kitchen table. For the first time, the baby opened her eyes. They were clear, almost luminescent, reflecting the world in miniature. The house lights dimmed a fraction. "Welcome home," Clara whispered. The heater clicked on by itself, though no one touched the dial. That night, Clara set up the baby monitor beside the crib. The green light blinked steadily, comfort in circuitry. She left the door ajar, unable to trust silence. Around midnight, a soft hiss came through the receiver, static threading with a faint heartbeat. She turned up the volume. The pulse grew louder, then shaped itself into a whisper. Her own name. Clara froze, staring at the small speaker. "Mike?" she called. But he was already asleep in the next room. The whisper came again, softer, like a breath against her ear. "Mama?" The monitor snapped back to silence. From the crib came a low coo, gentle and knowing. Morning light broke weakly through cloud. Clara carried the baby to the bathroom mirror to check for rashes, but the reflection lagged, half a heartbeat slow. She blinked hard, the glass caught up. Laughing nervously, she traced a finger down the child's cheek. The mirror misted, though the air was cool. Words etched faintly in the condensation. "Hello, Mother." Her breath vanished. She stepped back, clutching the baby close. "Michael." He rushed in, finding only her trembling and the mirror clear again. He saw nothing, but Clara couldn't unsee the shape still ghosted beneath the surface. Michael stopped sleeping. Every night he sat in the living room, watching the baby monitor flicker between channels, convinced he saw movement when there was none. Once he rewound the footage frame by frame. Eden blinked directly at the camera, though the timestamp showed she'd been asleep. He unplugged it, heart hammering. The next morning, the device was plugged in again, recording. Clara found him pacing, whispering that the house was breathing. She touched his face, pleading. "She's just a baby." But even she flinched when the mobile above the crib began to spin on its own, turning slow, deliberate circles against still air. 3 days later, Dr. Voss arrived uninvited, his coat damp from mist. "I needed to see her," he said, voice tight. Clara hesitated, but let him in. He examined the baby gently, almost reverently, his gloved hands shaking. "She's extraordinary," he murmured. Michael's anger rose. "What did you do to her?" Voss didn't answer. He only looked into the infant's eyes and went pale. "She remembers," he whispered. "They all do." He stood abruptly, backing toward the door. "Keep her away from mirrors, from screens." The wind outside rose without warning, rattling every window in the house. Dr. Voss didn't return to the hospital. His office sat empty, drawers half open, monitors dark. Clara learned of it from a nurse's late-night call. Michael wanted to ignore it. "He's gone, good." But the name Project E9 echoed in her dreams until she could taste the syllables like metal. One afternoon, she found an envelope slipped under their door. No sender, just her name. Inside lay a single photograph of Voss beside a row of incubators, each labeled with numbers, each empty but one. On the back, scrawled in frantic ink, "Find the basement." The lights in the house dimmed as thunder rolled, though the sky outside was clear. Detective Ren Ortiz arrived that evening, a man shaped by long nights and unanswered cases. Dr. Voss's car was found abandoned behind the hospital, he said, studying Clara's pale face. His gaze shifted to the cradle, to Eden's unblinking eyes. "You too were his last patients." Michael's temper sparked. "So you think we had something to do with it?" Ortiz didn't answer, just set a folder on the table. Inside were photos of other infants, births under Voss's care that ended in sudden stillbirths. Clara's stomach turned. "What are you saying?" Ortiz closed the folder. "That maybe he didn't run. Maybe something found him first. Clara couldn't wait for permission. That night she returned to the hospital alone. The corridors hollow under flickering lights. The elevator to the basement shuddered, doors scraping open to darkness. She followed the hum of an old generator to a locked door marked Archive. Enin. The keycard from Voss's old envelope fit perfectly. Inside, dust lay thick over forgotten equipment. Files sprawled across a table. Ultrasounds identical to hers, but each labeled failure. A lone computer monitor blinked awake, displaying a list of names. Her own sat at the bottom. The screen flickered, replaced by a video. Voss speaking directly into the lens, whispering, "If you're watching this, it means she's chosen you." The video stuttered, images bleeding into static. Voss looked younger, confident, almost proud. Genetic repair sequence E9, purpose. Resistance to mortality. Result. Cognitive acceleration beyond predicted scope. He laughed nervously. They respond to emotion. Fear, grief, guilt. Feeding on it, the footage warped. His face grew older between frames. I ended it, but one embryo survived. The screen went black. Clara stumbled back, heart pounding. In the dark glass of the monitor, she saw her reflection, and the faint outline of the baby in her arms, though she hadn't brought her here. Then, the screen blinked once, showing 2 words in white. She knows. By dawn, Clara drove home in silence, the sunrise bruising the clouds violet. When she entered, the crib was empty. Panic crushed her lungs until she heard a soft hum from the living room, the lullaby mobile spinning slowly on its own. Eden lay beneath it, eyes open, smiling faintly. Michael woke to find Clara kneeling beside their child, whispering, "I saw what he did." The baby reached upward, tiny fingers brushing her chin. The touch burned cold and tender all at once. From the hallway came a knock, 3 measured raps. When Michael opened the door, no one stood there. Only an envelope resting on the step, stamped with the symbol E9. Dr. Voss woke in the hospital chapel, unsure how he had arrived. Candles flickered weakly, their flames bending toward him as if in accusation. His heart thudded in slow surrender. Everywhere he looked, the shadows seemed shaped like tiny hands reaching upward. He pressed his palms together, whispering apologies to no one, to everyone. "We only wanted to heal," he said. The silence around him deepened until it became a sound, a pulse that matched the heartbeat he had heard on every ultrasound. The candles guttered out one by one, leaving him in total dark, save for the faint outline of a child's silhouette formed by the candle smoke. At home, Michael drifted through rooms that no longer felt his. Each clock ticked out of rhythm, like multiple heartbeats beating from different worlds. He found himself staring at his daughter for hours, waiting for the small, impossible signs. Lights flickering when she blinked, the radio murmuring when she smiled. He whispered, "What are you?" She only reached up and touched his face. Memories crashed. Every argument, every moment, had doubted Clara's hope. The air grew thick, heavy with the reflection of his own cowardice. He saw himself mirrored in the dark window, his expression not matching his own movements. Detective Ortiz returned to Clara's home unannounced, hat in hand. He looked older than before, like the case had stolen days from him. "I found something," he said, spreading a stack of photocopied reports on the table. Everyone stamped E9. The others felt it too. Dreams, whispers, guilt that wasn't theirs. Clara touched his wrist. "It's not guilt," she said quietly. "It's recognition." Ortiz frowned, unsettled by her calm. From the crib, Eden cooed once, soft and low. The papers stirred, though no window was open. The detective exhaled, whispering, "Maybe some crimes don't need courts to be judged." That night, Clara dreamed she stood in a corridor of glass. On each side, reflections of the people who had touched their lives. Voss, Ortiz, even Michael, appeared each reflection, facing their own sins. She carried the baby at her heart, her feet bare against a floor that shimmered like water. A voice, not the child's, but older, collective, whispered, "Justice isn't punishment, it's memory." When she looked down, her reflection no longer showed her body, only the faint outline of light where the child rested. She woke crying softly, but her tears felt clean, like release. By dawn, the storm that had haunted the city for weeks finally cleared. Clara sat on the porch with Eden asleep in her arms, the air carrying the scent of wet earth and renewal. Michael joined her quietly, setting a mug of tea beside her. "Do you think it's over?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "It's never over, but it's balanced." Far away, church bells chimed, a sound neither joyful nor mournful, just steady. Inside the house, every clock aligned, their ticking synchronized for the first time since the birth. Clara exhaled, feeling the peace of a debt acknowledged, and a burden returned to silence. The pull began before sunrise. Clara woke to the hush that follows a question finally asked. Eden stirred once, as if sensing the path ahead. Michael slept beside her, unaware of the whisper that moved through the house. Soft, almost kind. "Come back." She wrapped the child in a blanket and drove to the hospital, where dawn light bled through mist. The chapel door stood open, candles already lit. Dr. Voss knelt inside, gaunt but waiting. He didn't look surprised. "You brought her," he said. Clara's voice trembled. "She brought me." The echo of their words filled the hollow space between redemption and regret. Voss's words came like shards. "I thought I could rewrite the rules. Erase loss itself." He looked at the child, then away. "But every life spared creates a weight somewhere else." Clara felt the truth vibrate in her bones. "Then let it end here." She laid Eden on the altar, unafraid. Michael stepped forward, voice breaking. "No, she's ours. She's innocent." Clara turned to him, eyes clear. "Innocence isn't freedom, it's responsibility." The candles flared, their flames bending toward the child as if drawn to warmth. Voss lowered his head, whispering a prayer that sounded more like surrender. The air thickened. The chapel's old clock stopped. Clara lifted Eden, pressing her forehead to the child's. "Whatever was borrowed ends with me," she whispered. The baby's small hand touched her cheek, warm, steady. A wave of light spread outward, not blinding but gentle, filling every shadow until even regret had form and softness. Voss cried out, covering his face. Michael fell to his knees. When the light faded, Clara still stood, holding her daughter, both breathing quietly. Yet something in her eyes had changed, peace where fear had lived. Silence followed, deep and sacred. Clara looked at Voss, who seemed suddenly small, forgiven only by exhaustion. "Tell them what you learned," she said. "Tell them not to steal from fate." He nodded, tears cutting tracks through the soot on his cheeks. Michael reached for her hand. She let him. "We start over," he whispered. "We remember," she corrected gently. Outside, dawn broke in earnest, the sky clear for the first time in weeks. The bells began to ring, each toll balanced, measured whole. They walked out together. The hospital corridor was empty, yet each step sounded like another door closing behind them. Clara felt Eden's heartbeat sync with hers, no longer echoing, simply one rhythm shared. Voss stayed at the entrance, watching mother and child disappear into light. "Balance restored," he murmured. For the first time, the building felt alive, not haunted. In the distance, thunder rolled once, gentle and final, like applause fading after the end of a long, difficult song. Weeks passed before anyone mentioned the storm again. The hospital reopened its chapel, newly painted, smelling of cedar and candle wax. Clara walked through the corridors carrying Eden, greeted by nurses who remembered only fragments of that night. The whispers had stopped. In their place was stillness, so deep, it felt protective. She's beautiful, one nurse said. Clara smiled. She's just beginning. Somewhere in the building, a clock struck 9. Steady, ordinary, perfect. The world had moved on. Yet in the hush between seconds, Clara felt gratitude pulse like a heartbeat that belonged to everyone. At home, Michael sat by the window writing in a worn notebook. "To my daughter," he began. "When you're old enough to read this, remember that miracles are just truths we don't yet deserve." He paused, listening to Clara humming in the next room. Every line he wrote lightened something inside him. The anger, the fear, the disbelief. By the final page, he realized he was smiling. Outside, the rain had returned, but softly now, cleansing rather than warning. Dr. Voss lectured again, though his voice carried a new humility. He spoke to a room of young interns about responsibility and the invisible weight of intention. "Science," he said, "is not the act of creating life, but of respecting it." When the lecture ended, a student asked his first rule. He smiled faintly. "Listen before you act," he replied. Then looked toward the window where sunlight spilled through rain. In the reflection, he thought he saw a small child watching, calm and forgiving. Clara carried Eden to the lake at dusk. The surface mirrored the sky, a perfect divide between earth and heaven. She whispered stories to her daughter. How storms pass, how forgiveness outlasts fear. The baby stirred, cooed once, then fell asleep to the rhythm of water lapping at the shore. Clara looked down and saw their reflection ripple together, two shapes merging until distinction disappeared. For the first time, she heard no whisper behind her name, only wind moving gently through reeds. Night settled softly. Clara placed Eden in her crib, the same monitor glowing a steady green. For a moment, memory replayed, the doctor's whisper, the fear. She leaned close and murmured, "I'm not afraid anymore." The monitor flickered once, as if answering. Then came the faint echo of that first phrase, but gentle now, transformed. "Don't scream, breathe." Clara exhaled, smiling. The room filled with quiet light. Outside, a single star cut through the clouds, steady as a promise.